Hello everyone and welcome back to World of Flashpoint. This week we will be checking out 3 more Flashpoint miniseries, The Outsider, The Secret Seven, and Citizen Cold, and we will be beginning with what is probably the most obscure miniseries within this entire event, The Outsider, written by James Robinson and Harvey Fernandez. The Outsider is an identity that was used by Alfred Pennyworth for a while when he was turned into a supervillain. This is not Alfred Pennyworth, though. This is a completely new character created just for this miniseries. I'm not sure why they didn't use Alfred for this, especially because it would line up with this timeline's version of Batman. But my guess is that whoever was writing the Flashpoint Batman miniseries may have had plans for this version of Alfred, and so James Robinson wasn't allowed to use him and had to come up with a new outsider instead. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was originally supposed to be Alfred. The story begins in 1960 India, where a woman is giving birth to a baby, but the baby is obviously not human because she's going through all sorts of pain, like tremendous pain, way more pain than anyone would normally go through when giving birth, to the point that when she finally gives birth, she dies, and the father wants nothing to do with the baby because he's like, that monster killed my wife. And we see the baby has glowing eyes, so you're like, immediately, that is an evil baby. And it's followed up with a massive sinkhole that appeared in the middle of this town, swallowing the entirety of it, and the only survivor was the baby. And yet for some reason, nobody figures, hey, maybe it's the weird-looking baby that did this? You know, the only thing that survived? This baby is Michael Desai, who would grow up to be a wealthy businessman, also known as the Outsider because he looks so different, and also he's a real asshole. He's currently trying to do business with Cyborg and his resistance, but secretly Michael is a terrible person, doing all these terrible things behind the scenes. Like, he's trying to work with Cyborg, but at the same time, he's trying to find one of Cyborg's allies, Blackout, so that he can use him to power his entire facility. He starts talking all of this business mumbo jumbo, who gives a shit, to this assistant when she gets shot and killed, and that is when the Terrifics show up alongside this hero named the Rising Sun, Izumi Uzunari. The Terrifics are Debbie and Michael Holt. You know Mr. Terrific. Everybody knows Mr. Terrific at this point. They got their guns, they're coming in, they're fighting the Outsider. They refer to him as evil because he has framed them, sent them to jail. They used to be heroes, and then because of him, they are now seen as villains. The Outsider activates a giant statue, and as Michael Holt shoots him, the statue just cuts him in half. That's right, Michael Holt is dead. That is the end of Mr. Terrific in the Flashpoint timeline. Kind of bullshit. I hate shit like this, when the Flashpoint books just have a character that shows up. It's like, hey, look, it's that guy. Oh, he's dead. Oh, you know that character you like? Well, he just got cut in half. And Debbie obviously wants revenge for her husband, so she starts killing all of Outsider's men, and the Outsider is such a dick that he doesn't even care about his own men. He just lets them all die while he's fine. He seems to be immune to bullets. He hits her in the shoulder. She's like, is that all you got? You only glazed me a bit. That was just a distraction. And then she gets her head cut off by the statue. That's right, Debbie's just dead. And so now Rising Sun tries to get revenge on his allies by fighting the Outsider. He kills everybody, but Outsider doesn't care about that. He only cares about the fact that he destroyed his facility and also his suit. He's like, nobody destroys my suits. You've gone too far. And so he just gets blasted by Rising Sun's abilities, and they don't do anything because this Outsider guy is just impossible to kill, apparently. And then he punches Rising Sun through the gut, killing him. And then he's like, oh, that was nasty. Well, time for a cup of tea. Also, they do mention Alfred Pennyworth in this, by the way, when I was talking about him earlier. He apparently was working for the Outsider. He was one of his British agents. He died off panel. He was captured by the Amazons and was beheaded, because of course he was, because this is Flashpoint. You know, you love Alfred Pennyworth. He got beheaded off panel. Michael puts two and two together. He knows that somebody is sending people after him, so somebody wants him dead. And now he's got to figure out who. We get some flashbacks about how Michael Desai rose to power. He teamed up with a couple of guys and they attacked all of the civilians, and after they did that, he killed these two guys because if they're out of the way, then he gets the whole cake. He gets to have everything. And then he gets in front of everyone and he's like, I'm not cruel or unreasonable. I just want you to join me. And there's this one guy who's like, why would we ever join a monster like you? And he gets shot by the Outsider. Like an aside, I will not abide disrespect. And then immediately after that, he's like, you can join me if you want to, but if you don't, you're all gonna die. So he's immediately a hypocrite. It's like, I'm not cruel and unreasonable, but if you don't join me, I will probably kill you. We cut back to the present day where I discover the main reason I do not like this guy, not just because he's an asshole, but he just does not shut up. Every single page this guy is on, he is literally just non-stop yapping about bullshit that I could care less about. It's literally just him yapping about the evil things that he's gonna do. Like torture the guy who had held the Holtz prisoner. He had set them free, he'd been paid by somebody to do it, and so Michael is asking this guy why he did it. The guy refuses to tell him. He says that he has a wife and children, and Desai is like, you know, I'm not a cruel or unreasonable man, but I've already killed your wife and your children are going into slavery. Now tell me what you know. And the guy sticks by his guns. He's like, no, kill me. And then the Outsider just does that. He blows his brains out, kills the guy. He then goes and talks to one of his assistants who says that they were able to trace different points of interest from the Holt attack to its point of origin, which was Karnak and Teth Adam. And the Outsider has a bit of a history with Teth Adam. We cut to 1996, where we see Michael meeting with Teth Adam, and he has ISIS held hostage, and he wants Karnak. And Teth will not give it to him, because he knows that if he gives this guy Karnak, he's going to do all sorts of awful things to it. In this timeline, Black Adam has a metal hand, because apparently his hand got cut off by Cyborg, I guess when he was in his human form. Also, for some reason, in this timeline, he decided to wear a shirt and cargo pants instead of a proper costume, yet he's still got the superhero boots. It's a really weird combo. And then the Outsider continues to show that he is the human embodiment of plot armor when he says, I have all this money, I created this device that can negate the powers of you and your wife. So I can copy your vocal cords and say Shazam. And he says it and reverts Black Adam back to his human form. And then he pulls out a gun and shoots him. He shoots Teth Adam. And at this point you think that Teth is dead. I'm like, oh, okay. They're just going to do that. They're going to be like, oh, he's dead. Now, he's not actually dead. The Outsider goes to Karnak because that's where the investigation has led him to. He lands in Karnak, and when he gets there, he sees Blackout. And he's like, hey, where's Adam? And Blackout's like, oh, he's not going to be able to do anything. He could care less about you. And Michael sees that Adam is currently stuck inside of a test tube. He's still alive. But he's like, there's no way that Blackout would be able to defeat somebody like Teth Adam, so you have to be somebody else. And Blackout reveals his true identity, which is John Johns, aka the Martian Manhunter, who's got a little bit of like an Indiana Jones thing going on. Yeah, this is apparently the Outsider's arch nemesis, and the guy that's been trying to track him down and kill him this entire time. I don't know how Black Adam survived being shot by the Outsider. I don't know if they're gonna explain that. He looked pretty dead on the last panel, but then he's just here, alive and well. And so we discover everything about John Johns in this timeline. Instead of being found by Dr. Ertl, he was instead found by the Outsider, who tortured him with fire and then sold him away to the Russians because they wanted their own Project Superman. And when he was sent to the Russians, John was tortured by them because it was more of a gulag than a laboratory. But they made one major mistake. They used fire against him too much as a controlling method. So much so that John gained an immunity to it because he realized that it wasn't physically hurting him, it was only mentally hurting him. And so after gaining control, he killed everybody in the facility and took over it. And while he was in Russia, he discovered Black Adam. This is explaining how he survived his encounter with the Outsider. They found him barely alive after his encounter. Somehow he had turned back into his Black Adam form, even though he died as a human, or was dying as a human. They returned to Karnak together, and then it turns out John Johns is also a bit of an asshole in this and wanted to take over Karnak because it reminded him of Mars. I just feel bad for Teth Adam because he's just trying to protect his own country, and these assholes just keep trying to take it from him. So he ends up fighting Martian Manhunter. I'm kind of rooting for Black Adam here, but Martian Manhunter just pulls something out of his ass. He's like, I created this machine that can split you into your two halves. And that's it. There's no explanation. He's just like, I just created this machine that can defeat you, Black Adam. Like, what is it with these characters creating things that can just beat him? So he used that on Black Adam, that's how he beat him, and now John Johns wants revenge against the Outsider, but also not just revenge. He's working for either the Atlanteans or the Amazonians. He won't say. He's like, too bad you can't read minds, and then he turns into his big monster form in order to fight the Outsider. They have massive skirmish throughout the entire palace, until the Outsider pulls out more bullshit out of his ass, where he's like, oh yeah, I created this device that can trap you in between dimensions, because I discovered that there were 52 Earths, so now I've trapped half of your body in one, and half in the other, and if you don't tell me what I want to know, I will close the hole and sever you in half. And John refuses to tell him anything, and so he closes it, cutting John Johns in half, killing him. So the Martian Manhunter is dead. And then the Outsider returns to his facility where Cyborg has gotten in contact with him. And Michael's like, well, there's not really anything left for me to do. I guess I'll join the Resistance now, especially because Cyborg has finally gotten Batman on his side. Because this entire time, the Outsider has been interested in teaming up with Batman. And so he's like, well, I guess I'm taking part in the Resistance in this war. But God help whoever it is that wants me dead. And that is where the series ends. It ends with this guy, this character that I do not like at all, joining the good guys. Whatever. I did not care about this miniseries whatsoever. I'm glad it's over. And now we move on to The Secret Seven, written by Peter Milligan, with art by George Perez and Fernando Blanco and Scott Koblish. George Perez only does the first issue. He jumps after this, not sure why. Maybe there was some disagreements, something going on, or he had to do a different book. I don't know why they didn't get Gail Simone to write this. She was the main writer for The Secret Six at the time. She was the only writer for The Secret Six at the time. So I don't get why they didn't hire her to do this Flashpoint series, but they didn't. The story begins at a diner where shit has gone down and somebody is investigating, trying to find the culprit responsible. This person is the Enchantress. She takes out a couple of cops and finds some torn rags that will lead her to the person responsible. 5 hours earlier, we are introduced to the character Shade the Changing Man, who I did a little bit of research, is an old DC character who most notably had a long run of comics during the 90s written by Peter Milligan, which explains why he was tasked with writing this series and not Gail Simone. While he's eating at the diner, this character named Black Orchid comes to visit him, and she's supposed to be dead, so he's freaked out seeing her, and so he attacks Black Orchid, and that's what destroys the diner. And he talks about how he was sent here by his masters to help insane people, and now his masters are coming to retrieve him for some reason, so he teleports away, and that's how he ends up leaving that bit of rag for Enchantress to find. We find him face to face with his masters. This guy named Sagan Maximus is who Shade used to work for, and they start experimenting on Shade because they're trying to figure out the vest that he's wearing and how to take it off, because apparently the vest is what gives Shade his powers, and his powers are to traverse the multiverse and go through all sorts of realities. But if he ever found out what his vest can do, it would make him go insane, so he doesn't actually know what his powers are. And if you take it off, he'll die. So they can't take off the vest. Yeah, this book is very weird and confusing right from the get-go, especially if you know nothing about this character, like I did going in. They talk about how he was the leader of the Secret Seven, which consisted of Black Orchid, Trigon, Clarion, Simon Magus, Stiletto, Miss X, and Shade himself, and that they all died, and it was believed that Shade may have been responsible. Meanwhile, Enchantress puts Shade's rags in a little cauldron to summon him to her because she needs his help for some reason. Shade starts going insane, attacking his masters with all these weird powers that are coming out of his vest. I have no idea what is going on. It's just insanity. Like, straight out of a cartoon, there's a shot where he rips his chest open and his eyes come bulging out like a cartoon. It's really gross and weird and just, what the hell? These guys want Shade to start working for them again, and they're like, but we didn't call you here, you called yourself to us. And he's like, why would I ever do that? And this guy's like, oh, does Cyborg ring a bell? The Resistance wanted the help of the Secret Seven, so you were gonna help them, and then the Secret Seven all died. And then these guys in metal armor come in, and this guy's like, finally, you're here, I want you to kill Shade. So it turns out this guy doesn't want Shade helping him, he actually wanted to kill him. But his assistant tries to stop him from killing Shade, and he gets knocked out, and then he tells Shade to use his powers to escape. And then Shade disappears. But then the assistant is like, but he didn't even use his powers. So where did he go? What happened to him? And it turns out he was successfully summoned by the Enchantress, and she reveals that she wants his help because she has two personalities, because that's Enchantress's whole thing. There's the Enchantress, and then there's June Moon. And she wants Shade to try and find June Moon and bring her out. And Shade says that he can't because it's too dark and deep within the Enchantress's mind. So he can't find her. And then Enchantress just lights up with power and starts spinning around all crazy. It's really weird. And that is because June Moon has emerged. So even though Shade said that he couldn't bring her out, and Enchantress was having trouble bringing her out, she randomly is able to just come out. I don't get it. It's weird. But yeah, June Moon is here now, and she meets Shade for the first time. This is where things really start to fall to shit. It just becomes really confusing. You'll see what I mean. We're introduced to this woman named Amy Winston, who is working at a refugee camp, and the other women that work there are all really jealous of her because she looks great and stuff. But it gets real weird because these security FBI looking guys come in and they want to talk to Mrs. Winston, and they know that she is like Cyborg and stuff like that. She is a superhero, and they don't like them because apparently she goes by the name Amethyst. And it turns out that Amy Winston isn't actually an adult. She is a 12-year-old in an adult's body. Yeah, that's right. Real weird. Especially because one of the girls earlier was like, oh man, I wish I had a body like hers. And turns out she was actually talking about a 12-year-old. She didn't know, but still, it's a weird thing to write about. So Amy starts freaking out, and she blames everything on Shade. She just starts shouting. She's like, damn you, Shade! Damn you and your stupid seven! As she flies off into the sky. And then we cut to Shade and Junie walking through a field of flowers where they seem to be falling in love with one another or something, and they start talking about Cyborg and Batman and the Resistance and how they want Shade's help. But then Shade sees Amy running away, and he's like, Amy? Oh, it's you, Amy. And she's like, ah, you stay away from me. And Shade's like, no, and he grabs her, and Amy's like, hey, like, you're not trying to hurt me, but the way you grabbed me, like, you almost ripped my head off. So Shade's a little confused. It seems like his powers might be getting a little out of control or something, and Amy definitely does not like Junie. She's like, what are you looking at, Blondie? We then cut to Los Angeles, where Abracadabra shows up. I was not expecting him to show up in this series, but apparently he's worked alongside the Secret Seven and he knows all of their identities. He's getting pissed at his agent because he wanted pink roses for his show that's coming up, and they didn't get him the pink roses. He sits in his armchair and then grabs one of the roses, and then all of a sudden, tons of roses start growing around him. He gets smothered in roses and killed. It's really confusing because he dies here, right? And then we cut to the Shade, and he's seeing what seem like hallucinations of Black Orchid, saying that he needs to help the Secret Seven because they're all dying, and Shade's like, but you're already dead. Like, this is part of the confusion of this issue, where they're already dead, but then we also at the same time see them die. Like Abracadabra, we just saw him die. Black Orchid is already dead, apparently. And then Amy comes in and starts spouting shit at Shade, and calling him out and saying nasty shit to him, and he's just like, shut your stupid, immature mouth! And then she threatens to kill him, and then Junie Moon comes in, finds a rose, and is like, oh, what's this? And then we cut to a shot of this character Mind Warp sleeping with someone. It doesn't matter to the story at all, because immediately we just cut to Mind Warp on the job. He was a member of the Secret Seven. He has the ability to split an astral version of himself from his body, and while he's doing his job, he just suddenly dies, and it looks like the Shade's powers are responsible for killing him. His body just falls over onto the ground, and his astral form loses connection to his body, so he just dies. And then we cut to Shade and Junie sleeping together, because of course we do. And then we cut to Abracadabra. This is exactly how the story is going. We go from Mind Warp dying, cutting immediately to Shade and Junie sleeping together, and then the next panel is Abracadabra talking about the Secret Seven and their identities, even though we just saw him die and yet he's alive here. I don't get it. This is confusing as hell. And then we immediately cut to Trigon, which is Raven in this timeline, where she's getting attacked by these bats, and then she comes face to face with Zatanna, who looks awful in this Flashpoint timeline. I don't like her outfit here at all. She's riding a motorcycle, and apparently, while she was riding a motorcycle, it turned into her father for a second. So for a moment, and she says it in this, I was riding my father, which is weird as hell. Like, why would you write that into the book? She says that Shade's powers are finally going out of control and that they're going to have to put an end to it. Judy wakes up and finds that Shade is missing. She goes looking for him, and when she finds him holding Amethyst in his arms. She is dead, and he's got blood on his hands, so it seems like maybe he killed her. And remember, this is a 12-year-old in an adult body, so yeah, a kid just died at the end of this series, at the end of the issue. Great. Lovely. So Shade has accidentally killed Amy without even realizing it, and he tries to bring her back to life, which is just horrible. And even Junie points that out. She's like, that is horrible. What you're doing, you can't bring her to life. She's just a puppet. She grabs a chair and knocks Amy out, finally putting her to rest for good. And then goes over to Shade and is like, so you don't remember killing her, but you've been told that you killed everybody in the Secret Seven? And that's when Zatanna, Mind Warp, and Raven show up. The idea is that what Shade has been told is stuff that's going to happen. He hasn't killed the Secret Seven yet. Like, they're not all dead yet, but they will be at some point, according to these masters of his. It's framed really weirdly in the story, very confusing. So when Abracadabra got attacked by those roses, he didn't really die, he just got smothered and then was fine, and then that caused him to say all the real names of the Secret Seven. Mind Warp didn't die either, he just had a seizure after what happened to him earlier, so he's fine. Mind Warp's a bit weird because he comes here to kill Shade, but then he hits on June, and June's just like, stay out of this, like, Shade doesn't know what he's doing, we gotta talk this out, and Zatanna tells June to stay out of it, and then June turns into the Enchantress and fights Zatanna, Mind Warp, and Raven, so Mind Warp separates his soul from his body, and Zatanna uses a spell on Enchantress. She's gonna blow her up from the inside or something. And so Raven uses her soul self to bring June out of her body, and Mind Warp uses his powers to shut down Enchantress's mind so that Raven can find June and pull her out. But then Shade turns against them both and turns their souls into solid statues, and then Enchantress turns against Shade and smashes the statues, which kills their souls, and so Raven and Mind Warp both die. So that happened. And then Zatanna uses what she calls the death spell on Enchantress to kill Enchantress. So all of this blood starts bubbling out of her mouth. She turns back to Junie, and Shade thinks that she's dead. And then Zatanna dies because she can only use the death spell once. So she just falls to the ground and dies. That's right, everybody's dying. It's pretty horrible. She just turns into a skeleton. And then Shade discovers that Enchantress is still alive, and that this was her plan all along. That she went to find Shade and trick him into accidentally killing everybody or being here when everybody dies so that she can frame him for their deaths. So the Secret Seven are all dead, Shade has been framed for their deaths, and that's where the series ends. Or at least that's where I choose to end it, because there's a little bit more after this, but it really doesn't matter. It's just Enchantress goes and meets with the Amazonians about that shit, and the Shade's vest talks to him about some bullshit that's never going to be resolved. This is definitely the worst of the Flashpoint series that I've read so far. Like, Legion of Doom was very edgy and dark, and I didn't like it for that, but at least it was cohesive with its storyline. This was just confusing as hell, and also dark and edgy, so I hated it even more. And I'm glad I'm not insane for thinking that way, because it seems a lot of people agree with me in comic reviews for this. Now we move on to the final series this week, Citizen Code, written and drawn by Scott Collins. He does everything in this. I have high hopes for this series just because Scott Collins has done a lot of Flash stuff alongside Jeff Johns. This is the first time he's writing a comic, but he knows a lot about Captain Cold. He knows a lot about the characters involved within the Flash mythology, so I feel like he's probably going to do something really interesting with this, especially considering this is Captain Cold becoming the hero of Central City in this timeline. I hope this is better than at least the Secret Seven and Legion of Doom series that I've read in the past. The story begins in Central City, where Mr. Freeze was told that the things that would be able to help his wife are at Star Labs, but when he gets there, he finds out he's been cheated. There isn't anything there to help his wife, and the person that told him to come here was Leonard Snart, Citizen Cold. So he shows up in order to fight Mr. Freeze, and the only reason he's a hero is for the accolades. He only cares about the money and the love from the fans. He isn't doing this because it's the right thing. Iris West shows up. She is a reporter, as usual, but in this timeline, she works alongside her nephew, Wally West. Cold defeats Freeze because he's like, yeah, we may have similar weapons, but mine are way better than his. He freezes him, and Freeze is able to separate himself from his body with this little spider head. It's very similar to his Batman Beyond version. So Cold chases after him, and as he's shooting his freeze gun, he accidentally hits Iris and Wally's van. So they fall over, and they're about to fall off the dock, and so he sees this as an opportunity to save them, and he's also kind of interested in Iris, which is a little bit weird, knowing that, you know, in the regular timeline, Iris and Barry ended up together, but in this time, it seems like maybe Cold and Iris might end up together. But he saves the two of them, and then he kills Mr. Freeze. He stamps on his head and breaks the glass. And you kind of feel bad for Mr. Freeze, because he's like, you lied to me. You were the one that sent me here. Like, you set us up. You cold-hearted bastard. And then he gets killed. Iris tries to give Cold an interview, and she's like, man, he's getting a little bold with his killing, because now he's killing people in public. Cold wants to do the interview over dinner, tries to hit on her, and she's like, how about lunch? Done. And then they go their separate ways. We cut to Iron Heights Penitentiary, where the villain Fallout is being used to power it, much like in the main timeline, and he finds out that Mr. Freeze is dead, and he seems very sad about this. We then cut to another part of the penitentiary, where the trickster Axel Walker is being held, and he kind of annoys everybody, and the Weather Wizard is just being brought in after being taken down by Citizen Cold, where it seems his arm has been broken, further proving that Cold is very brutal. And apparently Cold killed Mirror Master, but then we discover that he didn't actually die, because Weather Wizard sees Mirror Master in his cell, and it turns out that Evan McCulloch is trapped inside his mirror now. He barely got away from Citizen Cold, but he's trapped in there. So if he comes out of the mirror, he will die, and if anybody comes into the mirror, they will die. They don't really explain it further, but that's as far as we know. And Mirror Master has a plan to get revenge for the rogues, which includes himself, Weather Wizard, Tar Pit, and Fallout. Meanwhile, Cold is out in town partying, and he's being watched by somebody. He heads home to his massive mansion, where we learn on the news that his sister, Lisa Snart, has killed their dad. Because in the main timeline, Cold became a villain, and this inspired Lisa to run away from their dad and become a villain as well. But because in this timeline he didn't become a villain, she didn't have the courage to leave her father, and it pushed her to the point that she ended up killing him because he was so abusive. We see that Cold's stalker is still watching him. He's looking at him through some binoculars, and then Cold sees him, and he's like, oh shit, he saw me. There's no way he saw me, did he? Damn it. So this guy runs away, gets into his car, he drives off, he heads back to his house, and he's getting in contact with Iris, and she picks up the phone. She's like, oh, thank God, it's so late. I was getting worried. I figured you were away hunting down a lead for your friend. Did you find something? And then all of a sudden, she loses contact with this person. She's like, hello? Did you find something, Wally? Wally? And it's revealed that the guy that was watching Cold was Wally West, and he has been killed by Citizen Cold. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of Wally West. We got to see him for a little bit in this. He's dead now. And this is the last time we will see Wally West for a long time. Like, this is the last time he appeared before New 52. Just unceremoniously killed off like this. It's kind of sad. The Rogues' plan gets underway to break out of Iron Heights Penitentiary. They use Chunk's powers to cause a massive distraction. Because he has these black hole abilities, they destroy the machine that is restraining his abilities, so it sets him off, and a huge, massive black hole explodes in Iron Heights Penitentiary. They find Lisa Snart, and the Rogues take her to use her as a hostage against Citizen Cold. And while they're walking away, we see that the Trickster is watching them. He's following them. Meanwhile, Hartley Rathaway, the Pied Piper, finds Wally's remains, the remains of his best friend, and so now he wants revenge against Citizen Cold. Meanwhile, Cold meets up with Iris, and they have an interview about stuff that's going on. Cold is being real weird. He's just flirting with her, like, hey, you ever thought about going on vacation to Paris? And Iris is like, we can't go to Paris. It's at the bottom of the ocean right now. She's like, you have any plans for retirement? Ever been to Dubai? Ever wanted to just get away? He's just being real creepy and also drinking at the same time, which is something, it's not very professional during an interview to just be slamming down beers. That's when both of them get messages. Cold gets a message from an unknown person telling him that Lisa Snart has been kidnapped, and Iris gets a message from Pied Piper to meet with him. The rogues head to Weather Wizard's observatory where he gets a weather wand and they chain Lisa up there. That's when the trickster shows up and he's like, hey, you guys thought you could just leave me at Iron Heights Penitentiary? You need me. Like, I'm a great rogue. I can help you fight Cold. And that is when Cold shows up and he's like, walk away now. And they're all like, no! And they start fighting Cold. They're like, you killed Mr. Freeze. He was a great guy. He was my friend. You killed my brother. Like, you took my family's money. You killed the original trickster, and that's the reason why I became the trickster. And you almost killed me and trapped me inside this mirror, so I'm gonna get my revenge. We're all gonna kill you, Cold, and you're gonna feel every single little bit. Cold fights back against them. He sends Tar Pit flying into the trickster, which knocks Trickster out. And so Mirror Master tells Fallout to use his abilities, but then Cold sends Tar Pit falling backwards into Fallout as well. Cold reunites with Lisa, but the reunion is cut short when Weather Wizard traps him in a tornado and sends him flying, starts shooting lightning at him, but Cold uses his gun to create a shield around himself, and then he freezes Weather Wizard's arm and leaves him while he goes to find Lisa, but then he gets grabbed by Tar Pit while Fallout finds Lisa and kills her with his radiation abilities. It's actually really horrible, and I feel really bad for her. She does not deserve this. The only person here that seems to really deserve anything bad coming to them is Cold himself. Tar Pit smashes Cold into the ground, and then Mirror Master starts attacking Cold's mind with his mirror abilities. He's like, it's over. Because I guess he's trying to trap Cold's mind in the mirrors. And then Cold isn't done. He's like, it's over when I say it's over. And we see a big whoosh. Hartley makes his way through the sewers, I assume to meet with Iris. But while he's going through the sewers, he sees an ice sculpture of Cold who knew that he was going to come through here. And he strapped a bomb to himself. He's like, I've got a gift for you. There's a massive explosion, which Iris hears. And then a car just comes out of nowhere, almost hitting her. Smashes into a nearby fence. She opens the car door and Cold falls out of it. And so now she's like, what the hell is going on? Iris brings Cold to her apartment, and while he lies unconscious on her couch, she discovers the truth about him. She sees his identity, Leonard Snart. She recognizes that he was the felon that killed his own gang because they turned against him. And he has plane tickets to depart by 2. So he's trying to get away. And she realizes the reason he has 2 is because he's gonna bring her with him. And that kind of makes her gag. She's like, oh my god, this criminal likes me? And then Cold wakes up and Iris completely lies about knowing who he is. She's like, no, I don't know who you are. I have no idea. I took the mask off, but yeah, don't even know your face. And then he walks up to Iris and just assaults her. Like, he just straight up forces himself on top of her and kisses her. She pushes him away. Like, Cold, where are you going? I have some final business today, but if you ever want to see me again, meet me here tonight. You're a special lady, Iris. And then he leaves, and then she sits down and is just like, oh my god, what has my life become? We see a photo of her and Wally together. So eventually, she's gonna find out what happened, and shit's gonna hit the fan. Meanwhile, Piper is revealed to be alive. He survived the assassination attempt by Citizen Cold, and he is determined to find Cold and kill him to get revenge for the death of his friend, Wally West, and also the attempt on his own life twice. Because in this timeline, Cold ripped out Piper's vocal cords, which is why he wears this metal mask and he speaks through a recording. He's got like a robotic voice box. The rogues meet up together and are like, oh, how did Cold even know where we were? And Trickster also shows up and continues to annoy them. And Tar Pit just wants to leave. He doesn't want to deal with Captain Cold because he's like, I don't want to die. I don't want to end up a popsicle. And Weather Wizard is like, none of us are leaving until Cold is dead. And Trickster is like, hey, you just want fun, don't you, Tar Pit? Well, it turns out I got a big truck outside for you to drive. And it's got all your favorite music in it, including Girder's new band Junk Pile, which is a little fun reference to the villain Girder. Apparently in this timeline, he has his own band. So Tar Pit goes outside and starts listening to music. He's like jamming to music. It's kind of a sweet moment, but it ends very quickly because Citizen Cold shows up, freezes him, and smashes him to pieces. So Tar Pit is dead. The reason he killed Tar Pit is because Tar Pit's family created some drugs that his mum got addicted to. Then we cut to Fallout, and the reason why Fallout cared so much about Freeze and considered him a good friend is because Freeze was going to cure his wife, and then after that, he promised to cure Fallout as well, so that he could finally reunite with his wife and kids. And now he's never going to be able to, so you just feel really bad for the dude. And then Cold freezes him from behind, and shoves him off, and kills him. Iris explores Snart's mansion and finds all of his gear, and then she gets a call. Weather Wizard fights against Captain Cold in their final showdown, lightning against ice. He traps Cold in a massive tornado. There's really no reason why Cold should actually beat Weather Wizard. Weather Wizard is so powerful, he could literally just suck the air out of Cold's lungs, but he chooses not to for some reason. I guess he just wants to torture him. But Cold shoots his ice ray at Weather Wizard's hand, dropping and destroying his wand. And then he tells Wizard that his brother hired Citizen Cold to try and kill Wizard, and then he killed his brother. And then Wizard is like, you bastard! And before he can finish his sentence, Cold just snaps his neck and kills him. And then he gets trapped in a couple of mirrors and brought into the mirror world by Mirror Master, where it's revealed that the Trickster, surprise, surprise, was working for Cold. And that's how Cold knew where they were. He was a traitor, and now he's dead. Mirror Master brought him into the mirror world and killed him, and now he's gonna kill Cold. But Cold knows that Mirror Master's weakness is being in the real world. So he shoves Mirror Master through one of the mirrors, sending him to the real world, and Mirror Master smashes to pieces on the ground and dies. Bleeding out, Cold heads home, coming face to face with Iris, where Iris asks him if he killed Wally. He's like, Iris, please. Iris, come away with me. I'm leaving Central City tonight. I can take you anywhere you want to go. We can have a new life starting now. Did you kill Wally? Of course I didn't, Iris. Who told you that? I did. Piper shows up. He blasts Cold with his technology and then says he's going to get revenge on Cold for ripping out his voice box. And Cold is like, no, you think you can stop me? And he jumps on top of him and starts trying to strangle him. He's like, I'm Citizen Cold, the hero of Central City. And then his freeze ray gets shot at him by Iris. She freezes Cold, killing him. Like, you're no hero, just a cold-hearted killer. And that is where the miniseries ends. Overall, I enjoyed this one, especially a lot more than the Secret Seven and the Outsider ones. It's not my favorite one. I think either the Ab and Sur or Hal Jordan ones are my favorite, but I really enjoyed this series. I think it was a great alternative history for the Rogues, and I think Citizen Cold was a very interesting character, being this anti-hero type guy who was only doing heroics for the money and the fame. Yeah, overall, definitely recommend not reading Outsider or The Secret Seven, but if you are going to read Flashpoint and any of its tie-ins, I say check out Citizen Cold, especially if you enjoy The Flash and the Rogues. But that's it for this week, and I will see you next week for more Flashpoint tie-ins. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe, and have a good one.